What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. NXT. We had the fallout from NXT TakeOver War Games this past Saturday in an event that I think a lot of people fell in love with as soon as it was over. A lot of people after the fact saying that it was the best TakeOver show that WWE has ever done. And some have gone out there and stated, and I am one of those people, that this may be the very best production that WWE has ever put on. And that was NXT TakeOver War Games 2018, man. So tonight, the show pretty much kept the same theme that we've seen from the previous takeovers. The following week, following a takeover, it's usually nothing but highlights. You guys get an inside scoop as to what was going on, maybe behind the scenes after the fact, after a certain match like tonight. They went behind the scenes with Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black. There was a little confrontation between Candice LeRae and Aleister Black. They had different camera perspectives and they enhanced the audio, and you got a glimpse into the ring as to what both Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black were both saying to each other during that classic 5-star match that they had. They went in depth with the War Games. They showed you a bunch of highlights with War Games. Same thing with Tommaso Ciampa, the greatest sports entertainer of all time, versus the Velveteen Dream. So much good stuff coming out of TakeOver, man, but there was not a lot of stuff on tonight's show. They gave you a little dose of what's to come in certain areas for the next coming TV tapings, but other than that, it was just a bunch of squash matches, and it was a great TakeOver-esque-like match between Candice LeRae and Nikki Cross, man. I definitely would like to see more between Candice LeRae and Nikki Cross. I will talk about that as we get on into the review. So we're going to go over what happened tonight, and as always, man, we're going to fill out the half an hour that I promise you guys each and every week. I got some news. I got some NXT news tonight right here on the podcast, man. So thank you guys so much for joining me here on NXT Review for your Wednesdays. I want you guys to be aware that barbershopwindow.com is actually having a huge Black Friday sale. Now, if you guys have contemplated, if you've put it off for a little bit, and you want a t-shirt, and you want to support Off the Script, and you want to support what I do here on the channel, then this is the greatest time to do it. This is the week to do that. Barbershop Window is affiliated with Pro Wrestling Tees. They are the sister website to Pro Wrestling Tees. I am an official partner with Pro Wrestling Tees, but I work off of Barbershop Window. Barbershop Window is offering you guys 35% off every single piece of merchandise on their online shop, and that is including the Off the Script merchandise store. So if you guys wanted to go and get yourself a t-shirt and you put it off, this is the week to do it, man. There is 18 designs in total, including this one. You guys can get the new 100,000 subscriber commemorative t-shirt for 35% off. All you guys have to do is use coupon code Black Friday at checkout, and it's going to take 35% off instantly from all of your orders, man. So once again, that's barbershopwindow.com/offthescript. It's usually $20. This week, all the way up until Monday, you guys have 35% off. So please go and do that, man. There's no better way to show your support than repping the actual merchandise on Barbershop Window for Off the Script. Thank you guys so very much for that. If you guys want to follow me on social media, at JD from NY206, hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell for all notifications. And if you guys want to support the podcast through Patreon, you guys can certainly do so. It is there for you at will, man. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. I got to shout out my boy Sal Rex for this beautiful, clean, crisp, new NXT layout. Sal Rex makes everything look good as far as the thumbnails go. And then I got my boy at MikeWill87 doing my other artwork as well, like thumbnails and layouts for the pay-per-view. So if you guys want, those are my two main men that make this channel look as good as it does, man. If you guys want any work done, they are going to be linked in the comment section down below this very video. Please treat them with respect They will do anything that you ask as long as you give them exactly what you want, and they will have it done, man. Two professionals and two guys who are great at their craft. So if you guys want any artwork and you're in the wrestling community or in the gaming community and you guys need layouts and thumbnails and Twitch layouts, etc., man, they do it all. They are your guys. I'll link their information down in the comment section below, and it'll be pinned at the very top. NXT tonight started off with Keith Lee. Keith Lee, man, someone who I definitely want to see more of, and I definitely want to bask in all his glory. I think Keith Lee is going to be money. Keith Lee's going to be money, man. And my God, I love his fucking theme song. I don't know about you guys, man, but I get hyped when I listen to Keith Lee's theme song. He went up against Fidel Bravo. I don't know where they got this guy from. I don't know what the fuck business this was on NXT TV with Fidel Bravo. I swear to God, man, they're in Los Angeles. They're in the Staples Center. They're in the land of stars, right? The porn industry is big in LA. This guy looked like he was off the set, just finished filming an 80s-inspired porn flick. So I don't know where the fuck they got this guy from, but he came, he collected a paycheck, and he got his ass handed to him by Keith Lee. There was not much here. Fidel Bravo thought that Keith Lee was disrespecting him because he didn't go ahead and chop him like everybody expected him to. So Fidel got to his face. He's like, "You're disrespecting me." Keith Lee obviously grew a little bit more infuriated with Fidel putting his hands on him, shoving him away, slapping him in the face. So obviously you know what's going to happen. The guy was pretty much fucking broken in half. Keith Lee did a devastating double chop to Fidel Bravo that I think he is still feeling today, and this shit was filmed last week. And then he does his jackhammer-like move from the fireman carries position. 1, 2, 3, it was pretty much academic. Keith Lee beats Fidel Bravo in what was nothing more than a showcase match in front of his very first TakeOver audience live. So that was that. And that's the way NXT opened up this week. So we had to look back at Cassius Ohno and Matt Riddle. And WWE really highlighted this. And I expected them to. Now, we all assumed that Matt Riddle and Cassius Ohno were filming a match before TakeOver. And that was going to air this week. But they didn't do that. They did not do that. Now, what I found out is that the NXT TakeOver sheet, or the call sheet, the notes for the show, were leaked after the show went off the air. And I found it on social media. Cassius Ohno and Matt Riddle were supposed to have an opening match that went close to 20 minutes. This is what I was reading. So WWE, well, Triple H mainly, Triple H came out on the conference call just a couple days before TakeOver, and he said that they like quality over quantity, which I have no problem with. But he trolled everybody and mentioned that, well, you know, we have 4 matches on the show, and we got the War Games match, which is probably going to take up a huge chunk of time, and then we got the story with Aleister Black and Johnny Gargano, and then Tommaso Ciampa, Velveteen Dream, the women, Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane, they got 2 out of 3 falls, so I don't want to give you guys too much. I want you guys to come back and want more, was his entire speech. So he mentioned, just look at the aspect of TakeOver here for War Games in 2018 having 4 matches. Look at the depth of the roster that we have that is not on this show. Lars Sullivan, Keith Lee, EC3, Matt Riddle, Cassius Ohno, Candice LeRae, Bianca Belair, Lacey Evans. He mentioned a bunch of guys, a bunch of women. So we all assumed that this match was going to be filmed for today, and we didn't get it. We didn't get it at all. We got it at TakeOver, and the match ended in 6 seconds with a jumping knee strike. Riddle knocked Ohno out, and you guys know what happened after that. But with these 2 guys, I'm assuming they're going to continue what they started at TakeOver. Now, Matt Riddle has all the talent in the world to be a huge deal in WWE, but he's not everybody's cup of coffee. In fact, we have one guy who really doesn't care at all about Matt Riddle, and that is Brad Shepard of the Barn Burners Fired Up podcast. Now, he went on to say that WWE could very well present Matt Riddle in the same way that they do Brock Lesnar, and that Matt Riddle, if WWE wants to go that route, they certainly could, and they would have a money-making machine in Matt Riddle, and that's the way that they should do it, because Matt Riddle is overrated as far as what he does in the ring. Now, I'm hearing from a few people who watch me every week that they were excited about Matt Riddle, and then they're kind of opening up to Matt Riddle a little bit, saying that he's got lackluster promo skills, and he just comes off a little weird and a little just out there, right? He's a little bizarre. But this is what attracted a lot of people to Matt Riddle in the first place. So, Matt Riddle could be presented in the same way that is Brock Lesnar. So, we had Barn Burners say this, and I quote, "Matt Riddle is a very accomplished UFC fighter. There is no question about that to me, but he's an overrated wrestler." And that's coming directly from Brad Shepard. Shepard went on to say that it takes a lot more to make up a wrestler in WWE because he needs to be a superstar and a well-rounded one at that. At this point, Riddle is in NXT to grow as a talent, and that is what's going to happen. But eventually, even a Riddle detractor like Shepard acknowledged that the NXT newcomer could eventually be presented in a similar way like Brock Lesnar. He says, and I quote, "I think that they have a great opportunity to present Riddle in a very unique way, similar to Brock, but different. They could really make that work. I mean, he's a legitimate badass. They could make that work, but it's all in how you present it, and it's all about how you work around his weaknesses." End quote. Riddle's look is different, and his charisma is infectious, so there's little chance that he won't be largely loved by the WWE Universe. But if a lot of people are looking at Riddle and they want to place their bets on Matt Riddle right now, he's going to be a big name that we're going to be hearing a lot of in the years to come in WWE. Even a match with Brock Lesnar being a possibility, because Riddle has said 2 times in the last month and a half that he would love not only Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, but he would love to retire Brock Lesnar from the WWE. Now, I don't necessarily think we need to see Matt Riddle go in there and do German suplex after German suplex after German suplex. Now, we all know Brock Lesnar can fucking wrestle. We all know that when Brock Lesnar wants to sell, he's going to fucking sell. We all know that when Brock Lesnar wants to work, the man is going to fucking work. You know, Brock Lesnar has this perception about him that he doesn't give a shit about the business, and that very well may be true. He may be all about the money, hand me my paycheck, and let me go back to my lodge in Canada with my wife and my 2 kids, and let me just fucking hunt deer. Okay? Let me live in the fucking solace of Canada and leave me the fuck alone. I'm going to come back when you got more money for me, and you want to give me the Universal Championship, fine, that's okay, but I'm going to do UFC too while I help you out. So all I give a shit about is making money. That's the kind of perception Brock Lesnar gives off. And WWE even went a step further in the build with Roman Reigns, heading into SummerSlam, with Lesnar reading magazines, and why would I watch Monday Night Raw? I don't really give a shit about this show. You know, I don't give a shit about being here. WWE doesn't need to do that with Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle's young. Matt Riddle's been in this industry for 3 years, max. 2.5 years, 3 years. He's gained a huge following on the indies for the work that he has accomplished and how far he's come in such a little time. I don't want WWE to present Matt Riddle in that way. They have so much more in Matt Riddle that if you don't present him and maximize the guy's capability and the guy's talent, then you're losing out. You know, yeah, his charisma is infectious, and his attitude is probably going to get over big with the WWE crowd. But I don't want to see Matt Riddle go in there half-assing shit like half of these guys do. The guy can fucking go, the guy can wrestle. I want to see him go, and I want to see him wrestle. You know, we're not talking about a Brock Lesnar or we're not talking about a Matt Riddle that is like Brock Lesnar, who's making fucking $7 million a year and, you know, is 38, 39 years old. You know, let Matt Riddle build a mystique about him. Let Matt Riddle build a legacy for himself. I'm not saying that Brad Shepard is wrong in wanting to book Matt Riddle the way he does. I don't think that he's overrated. I think Matt Riddle is very good. If you guys watched him, you could go YouTube him and watch anything that he's done. Matt Riddle needs to build a legacy for himself before we even start talking about putting him in the same league as a Brock Lesnar, building him up as a Brock Lesnar. All because he's a UFC fighter doesn't mean he's got to follow the same path as Brock Lesnar. There are UFC fighters that come into WWE that are great wrestlers. There are UFC fighters that come into the WWE that are better wrestlers than they ever were UFC fighters. Matt Riddle is that. Let the guy do what he has to do. Let him continue learning. He didn't come to WWE to say, I'm here now, I can stop learning. It's not the type of guy I want on my team. At all. Let Matt Riddle learn. Let Matt Riddle grow. Let him build a legacy for himself before we start booking him like an unstoppable monster with fucking 2 moves, which I know he doesn't have. So, Shepard is right, in a sense, but it's going to be a very long time before we get to Matt Riddle being in that league as Brock Lesnar. Moving on here, man, we had a Lars Sullivan sighting here on NXT. And Lars Sullivan's name has been thrown around a lot this week, especially with the debuting video package at the Survivor Series. He went against somebody named Kato Murray. This guy was better off not even showing up for work. This was a big body splash in the corner, a freak accident, and it was all over. Simple as that. I blinked and the match was over. But Lars Sullivan is a beast. Lars Sullivan is a monster. Lars Sullivan is NXT's monster. And man, do I love his entrance. Very, very intimidating. Very, very superstar-like entrance for Lars Sullivan. But Lars Sullivan, everybody's talking about Lars Sullivan. Lars Sullivan is not ready for the main roster. He's not ready for them. I think he's money. Now, when I say that, I mean I think he's going to be money. I think he's money. He's got a great look. He reminds me of Vader. He honestly reminds me of the Mastodon Vader. And we all know how Vader ended up. One of the greatest of all time, right? One of the, probably the best men for his size that's ever done it. Seriously. And he's from the Rocky Mountains, so he's got a lot of similarity to Big Van Vader. But Lars Sullivan has been featured on both Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live with a very, very well done video package. And the reason why the video package was shown on Survivor Series was because of Vince McMahon. The video package was not supposed to debut that early. Vince McMahon seen it. It was supposed to debut at TLC. And Vince McMahon sped up his debut to the main roster because he took one look at Lars Sullivan and he wanted him on the main roster. This is the story that I'm hearing. Brian Alvarez revealed on Wrestling Observer Live this week after the Survivor Series that apparently Vince McMahon was taken by the brute force of the video package that he insisted they air the video early because the initial intention was to debut the video package during the TLC pay-per-view in December. He says, and I quote, "So apparently the Lars Sullivan video package that aired on the Survivor Series, and they aired it on the main show on Raw, I guess they created the video package, and I guess it was scheduled to air at the TLC show, and I guess Vince saw the video package and said, God damn, get that on today." So there you go, end quote. Now, only time will tell what that means for WWE, if they are going to pull the trigger on Lars Sullivan's actual WWE debut early or not. But it's never a bad sign when Vince McMahon sees something that you've done and wants to get it on television as soon as possible. Now, I'm going to let you guys know right now. My honest opinion on Lars Sullivan is I honestly think the guy needs another year in NXT max. Out of all the people on that roster, you're going to choose Lars Sullivan to bring to the main roster. I ask why. And I mean this wholeheartedly, and I'm sure I will be mentioning this again at some point in the next 6 weeks. I guarantee it. I will be mentioning this again in the next 6 weeks when we see that black silhouette in the spotlight standing on what I hope is SmackDown. Lars cannot go to Monday Night Raw. That would absolutely kill him. Yes, they got the video package. Yes, the video package is very nicely done. It gives you a great interpretation of what Lars Sullivan is, with his theme music playing in the background and a nice shot of how fucking psychotic the guy looks. Yes, it's great. It might have caught the eye of Vince McMahon. That's great. Maybe he's on Vince McMahon's good side, and maybe that Vince McMahon likes him so much, he may have a bright future. We don't know yet. But does WWE have a plan for Lars Sullivan? Because from what I know, every time you're in NXT and you get the call up, Triple H said it himself. We're not going to promote anybody, in my eyes, demote somebody. We're not going to promote somebody unless we have an idea of what to do with you. WWE right now, as far as Lars Sullivan goes, is off to the right foot. Because they're doing video packages. This is what we need to see. I don't want to see the same video package on loop every single fucking week. Show me what this guy has done. Give me a glimpse of the destruction that this guy has caused in NXT. But does WWE have a plan for Lars Sullivan? The answer is no. WWE doesn't have any plan for Lars Sullivan. Lars Sullivan, I guarantee you, I would bet my fucking house, my cats, my car, my bank account on what they're going to do with Lars Sullivan. They're going to debut this guy on SmackDown Live, and they're going to feed him local enhancement talent, just like they did with Braun Strowman when he first debuted solo on Monday Night Raw. Or when Ryback was on Monday Night Raw, and they fed him one guy, and then people were getting bored with that, and then it was two guys. And people were getting bored with that, and then three guys. You know, a lot of people have asked, where did the squash matches go? Where did the jobber matches go? That helped Nia Jax early on, and it did. That helped Braun Strowman, and it did. Same thing here. It's going to help out Lars Sullivan. But is WWE, in that time when they're showing off the skill and the brute force of Lars Sullivan, are they going to be devising a plan and how to use Lars Sullivan? You can't put this guy on Monday Night Raw. The fuck is he going to do on Monday Night Raw? Look at who is on Monday Night Raw. They already have a monster in Braun Strowman. They got Baron Corbin. They got Bobby Lashley. They got Drew McIntyre. The Land of the Giants on Monday Night Raw. You want to put Lars Sullivan on Monday Night Raw. Lars Sullivan needs to be on SmackDown, where he can go up against Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio and guys like that. R-Truth. The smaller guys. Feed him the smaller guys and then get him in the ring and get him in there with a bigger name. That's the way you book Lars Sullivan for the short term before you go on and book him in anything a little bit more important. But he needs to be on SmackDown Live. You can't put him on Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw would absolutely fucking kill this guy. So what do we do with the squash matches? We'll get 6 weeks of squash matches. WWE will probably stretch it to 8 because they don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. And then he'll disappear like Almas disappeared on SmackDown Live. He'll sit in catering for 4 fucking weeks. We'll wonder where Lars Sullivan is. We'll all bitch and moan that he should be back down in NXT. Then WWE will hear about it on social media. They'll put him in a match with fucking Seth Rollins. He'll get buried. And boom, Lars Sullivan and his main roster run is off and buried. We don't need that. We don't need that. Lars Sullivan is money. Lars Sullivan has a great look. Lars Sullivan is very decent on the microphone. And Lars Sullivan has the potential to be a very, very, very good big man if they let him mature. I don't understand why you're pulling talent from NXT when you have talent on the roster that you've somehow given up on, but really never given a chance to. I mean, look at SmackDown this week. Look at the fucking terrible show that we were given this week. Do you see the amount of talent that wasn't used on that show? Jeff Hardy, Andrade Cien Almas, Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe. AJ Styles is right now negotiating a deal with the WWE to sign a new contract, so he's home with his family. People were wondering where AJ Styles was. The fuck's going on over there? You got a 2-hour show, and we're over the Survivor Series. Why isn't Almas on TV? Why are we getting jobber matches with The Miz? Why are we getting turkey feast street fights with The New Day in the bar? With cranberry sauce being dumped all over your tag team champions? Why? Yet you want Lars Sullivan on the main roster. Lars Sullivan is not ready for the main roster. He may have the look that Vince McMahon wants on the main roster, but is he ready? The answer is no. Now, if you're asking me, is Aleister Black ready? Aleister Black was ready before he was even given the name Aleister Black. Johnny Gargano ready? Is Ricochet ready? Is anybody in Undisputed Era ready? Is Tommaso Ciampa ready? Is Velveteen Dream ready? Most of those I say yes, because they've been in main events several times over. Lars Sullivan hasn't been in a main event outside one with Aleister Black. It was decent for what it was, but it really didn't show off what Lars Sullivan could be. That's one main event. And if you're grading him on that match, Lars Sullivan ain't ready for the main roster. If he's in there with Aleister Black and he's giving you a subpar match that could have been better, but wasn't. Now, this is a year removed. Or, I guess, half a year removed from when we see that. That was earlier this year. Now, you look back at that and you look at where Lars Sullivan is now. Has he matured in that short time span? No. The answer is no. So, what do you think he's going to do in the ring with a Rey Mysterio? Or a Jeff Hardy? Or an AJ Styles? Or anybody that's a babyface on SmackDown Live? I don't know. I don't like it. I fear for everybody coming up from NXT to go to the main roster. I do. I don't like it at all. He's not ready. Not saying that I don't want to see him. I'm just saying that he's not ready. Now, there is a report about how he's viewed backstage. Brad Shepard, again, has mentioned, and I quote, essentially, I was told they believe he would be overlooked on the main roster, especially if he goes to Raw. Strowman is the reason that he gave. Strowman is a bigger Lars Sullivan, right down to the mountain man look and the mountain man beard. They believe Lars, or Brad Shepard believes, that Lars should start on SmackDown and work with some of the talent there. Yes, the smaller talent. The Mysterios, the Hardys, the etceteras. That's what I'm thinking there. 6'3", 300 pounds. Sullivan is a big guy in NXT. But when he gets to the main roster, there aren't very many people he can really squash because there are a few people who are bigger than him on Monday Night Raw. 100% fact. Looks like WWE could have some big plans for Sullivan, but we're just going to have to wait and see what happens and who they place him up against. Tuesday is the night where Lars Sullivan needs to be. So it gave us a little bit of hope when they actually debuted that same package on Survivor Series night and the one on Monday on Tuesday. And we had Tom Phillips come out and say, oh, I can't wait to see what Lars Sullivan brings to Tuesday nights. So there's a hope there that he will end up on SmackDown Live. Moving on here, man. Post-match with Sullivan beating this fucking Kato Murray, he serves this as a warning, and he wants what's coming to him, an NXT Championship match. Then he wanted to make his point very clear, so he was going to, again, destroy Murray in the ring. He actually mounted Murray and delivered some fucking stiff forearm shots. He was going for another freak accident, and Keith Lee comes to make the save, and he knocks Lars Sullivan out of the ring with a big shoulder tackle, man. So they're booking this match for next week. This is actually taking place on the next set of TV tapings. I know they filmed something in San Jose. I'm not sure if that's the one that's going to be next week and they're going to film the week following. So whatever they're going to show next week, wherever it was filmed, whether it was the San Jose house show that they filmed or they're going to go back to Full Sail and film it, it's happening next week. So it's Sullivan versus Keith Lee. And if I'm a betting man, I think Lars Sullivan's going to get called up sooner rather than later. And this is what he is going to be doing on his way up. Putting over a new monster in Keith Lee. So, I want to go over two more stories here that I have before we get into the Nikki Cross, Candice LeRae story here on NXT. Now, EC3 is somebody that we haven't really seen a lot of in recent weeks. And EC3 was out with a concussion. But EC3 was, believe it or not, supposed to be called up to the main roster. But that was scrapped because of his concussion. Now, EC3 came into NXT, and to me, in my honest opinion, he hasn't really lived up to the hype that he had coming in. He's decent on the microphone. He's decent in the ring. He's got an unbelievable look that I'm sure Vince McMahon would fucking pitch a tent to. Believe me. But he hasn't done all that much in NXT. And some people say that he really doesn't need NXT. I think everybody needs NXT, especially a guy like EC3 who isn't really known to the WWE universe. Apparently, the reason that his call-up was scrapped was he was embarked for a main roster call-up, and he wasn't factored into any other plans. So NXT didn't factor him into anything because he was about to be called up to the main roster. But Mike Johnson speculated on PW Insider Elite Audio this week that we might have gotten EC3 on the main roster following SummerSlam if he didn't get a concussion in his match against the Velveteen Dream at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. He says, and I quote, obviously, they announced Lars Sullivan. I always hear EC3 is kind of on the precipice of an eventual call-up. I still believe, and nobody's told me this outright, but I'm under the impression that had he not gotten the concussion SummerSlam weekend, he probably would have been brought up right around SummerSlam time. Now, they've got to wait until they figure out a spot for him. That's the kind of impression I got, says Mike Johnson, end quote. He goes on to say, it all has to do with when Vince is ready for somebody and whether Triple H is ready to let them go or not. So you can't rush everyone up at once. I really think the entire makeup of NXT is going to change in the upcoming year as there is more talk of international satellite versions of that company showing up, end quote. WWE wants to get over into China. They want to get over into Mexico. They want to branch out. I was even hearing this week that WWE wants to open up a performance center in Australia and have TM61 be the ambassadors for the NXT brand over there. WWE has NXT UK. It's going to be a global brand. They're going to be dipping their hand into all aspects of the wrestling industry all over the globe. So, EC3 is another name that, when healthy, could eventually make the main roster. So, hopefully, we will see him get back to where he needs to be. And he was about to be called up, but it was an unfortunate injury in his match with the Velveteen Dream. Speaking of the Velveteen Dream, I have a little piece here on the Velveteen Dream. And I've stated this several times. I wholeheartedly believe this. Every ounce of my soul believes this. And if you don't believe me, or if you don't like what I'm about to say, tough shit. Seriously, tough shit. Now, Mike Johnson also opened up about the Velveteen Dream during his PW Insider Elite Audio, where I got this same EC3 news. And he sounded very sure about the fact that there are some very big things coming down the line for the Velveteen Dream if he keeps up at this pace. Everybody was blown away by what he did at TakeOver War Games with Tommaso Ciampa. Now, we all knew how good Dream was. That's a given. But the fact that he looked better than he ever looked, the fact that he was a little bit more fluid, a little bit more crisp, he knew what he was doing, he barely made a mistake. But it's not all on Dream. You need two to tango. He was in the ring with the best. He was in the ring with the best NXT has to offer right now, and that is Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa is gonna make you look like $1,000,000 fucking bucks. Ciampa's gonna make you look like Velveteen. You know? So, he spoke on Velveteen at the moment TakeOver was over. He said, as long as nothing stupid happens, as long as no injuries happen, and I used to say, I don't think it will happen, as Velveteen Dream, it's going to happen as Velveteen Dream. He's going to go to the main roster, and unless something stupid happens, he is going to headline a WrestleMania. He might not do it for 10 years. Who knows? But it's going to happen. He will headline a WrestleMania one day. I have no doubt in my mind that if he continues to work at the level he's been going to headline WrestleMania. So I'm just saying it right now. End quote. There are a lot of talented superstars in NXT who have been on the main roster and had main roster potential. Some of them failed. Some of them in NXT, we have aspirations of them going to the main roster. But few are as impressive as the Velveteen Dream. He's been able to take his character and incorporate so many throwback characteristics and include hidden nods to the past in his matches and storytelling that it's obvious he's not the only one who knows the business, but he has a unique mind for it as well. And he's only 23 years old. Big things are coming for Dream. Only time will tell how long that will happen, but Johnson was very certain about this fact, and I think a lot of people agree. There's something special about Velveteen Dream, and that unique quality could very well carry him to the biggest spotlight WWE on the main roster has to offer, and that is WrestleMania. I said it a couple of weeks back. Velveteen Dream is going to be a WWE champion. If the WWE takes this guy and doesn't know what the fuck that they're doing with him, then everybody in this company needs to be fucking hung upside down and beat like a fucking piñata. I don't understand how anybody could fuck this up. Let the guy do what he needs to do. You don't look at a talent like this and immediately break out the shackles and break out the ball and chain and shine it up real nice. You don't handcuff this guy. I don't give a shit if you don't like the throwbacks or the nods or the homages to the people who we grew up watching. You let that man do what he has to do. If he wants to come out and pay homage to Jake the Snake Roberts, you let him come out and pay homage to Jake the Snake Roberts. Ravishing Rick Rude, you let him do that. Mr. Perfect, you let him do that. Bret the Hitman Hart, you let him do that. The guy is money. I don't know how anybody could watch the match with Tommaso Ciampa and realize, well, he's got it, but I'm not sure. Or, well, it was a good match, but I don't think he's going to find success up here. He's not one of us. The fuck are people getting into this business for? Why did people grow up as a child idolizing who they idolized, wanting to get into this business based on who they watched as a child? And when they get here, you're going to crush all their hopes and dreams as if they never even fucking existed. This guy has it. His promo work is fucking great. His in-ring work for 23 years old, only going to get better. I mean, it's great now. I'm not saying that he's the greatest wrestler in the WWE or one of the best wrestlers in the world, but the one thing that I like to see is potential and someone rising and getting better every time. Can we all agree that when we watch Velveteen Dream, I fucking hated the gimmick when he fucking debuted it. Even before they repackaged him as a Velveteen Dream, he came out as Patrick Clark. He came out like he was about to do a fucking Magic Mike-like dance in the middle of the ring. I thought I was watching Goldust, Attitude Era reincarnated. That's not going to fit. I thought it was another Adam Rose failed-like gimmick in NXT. And here we are. He shut me up almost instantaneously. Here I am now, a full year and a half, fucking praising the guy up and down. He has it. He has everything you want as far as a professional wrestler. And I pray to God that he does not find his way into the Finn Balor camp, or the Revival camp, or the Ascension camp, or the Andrade Cien Almas camp, how the fuck they're fucking that up. Just like Finn Balor. Just like Finn Balor. What was wrong with Finn Balor in NXT? Nothing. They booked him perfectly. Perfectly. You don't need to change anything from what NXT is doing. But you know what? They are. They are. Because everybody on the main roster wants what everyone is talking about in NXT. Because it's in Triple H's possession. It's in Triple H's locker room. So they want it. They want it for the simple fact they want to change it. They want it because Vince's camp didn't come up with it. They want it because Triple H has this guy in his locker room and everyone in the wrestling world is talking about Velveteen Dream. They don't like that. They don't like that on Raw. They don't like that on SmackDown. You ain't one of us. You aren't one of us until you go through Raw or SmackDown. Fuck that. Fuck that. If I see anybody changing this guy's fucking character, mannerisms, the way he speaks, the way he dresses, anything, I will bury this entire fucking company. Bury it. Every one of those fucking people that are on the main roster, if they touch this guy in any shape or form, they need to be terminated. And it's going to happen. It is going to happen. I guarantee you. Velveteen Dream is going to end up like Tyler Breeze. Seriously. WWE is going to change things here and there about Dream. People like that don't succeed on WWE because they don't want it to succeed. We're lucky. We are lucky that Drew McIntyre was Vince McMahon's chosen one. So he was in NXT, but Vince was a dummy. He didn't realize what he had in Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre would go away for a little bit. Shinsuke Nakamura, fuck him. Finn Balor, fuck him. They're outsiders. They ain't one of us. He may have made them important down in NXT, but they're not important to us. I don't give a shit about them. Kevin Owens, I don't know how Kevin Owens has as many title reigns as he does. I guess he's a Triple H guy, right? Who else from NXT has succeeded on WWE television? Look at half the fucking people they called up. Look, Bray Wyatt, dead, all dead. It's disgusting. I could go on and on and on. WWE will take this and change it because they didn't create it. Triple H created it, NXT created it, Triple H's people created it. It's disgusting. It's going to happen. Will he headline WrestleMania? I certainly fucking hope so. Will he be a WWE champion? I certainly fucking hope so. We'll see what happens. See what happens, man. Those are all the news reports. We had a great main event tonight with Nikki Cross and Candice LeRae. This was a TakeOver-esque like match, man. I would have loved to see these women go another 5 minutes. But they had a really, really good match. Man, Candice LeRae was very, very physical in this match. Very physical. So this one ended when LeRae actually did a German suplex off the second rope to Nikki Cross. She German suplexed Nikki Cross off the second rope. 2 count. Cross was smiling when she was German suplexed off the second turnbuckle. LeRae comes up in the corner with some chops and some punches. She delivers a knee lift. LeRae kicks Cross right in the face down to the mat. Then she uses Johnny Gargano's Gargano escape and she locks it in. Cross gets to the bottom rope. Cross then trips up LeRae, puts her feet on the rope, twisting neck breaker for the cover. 1, 2, 3. Candice LeRae wins this match. Candice did not come out dressed in black. She came out wearing colorful ring attire. She has new theme music. Very, very Johnny Gargano-esque with her new theme music. But she loses here. And Nikki Cross wins. Now, I mentioned Nikki Cross in the beginning of this podcast. Nikki Cross actually could fit into WWE's plans. And I think I'm going to go over this on Off the Script on Friday when I sit down and record on Friday afternoon. I got ideas brewing about Nikki Cross. WWE really, really, really could have played this whole Charlotte Flair, channeling her inner Becky Lynch storyline on SmackDown Live. Paige not only could have suspended or fined, she could have went as far as to fire Charlotte Flair. Charlotte could have showed up on Monday Night Raw. You want Rousey? I don't want anything to do with you. You're disobeying everything that is law and order here on SmackDown Live. Go over to Monday Night Raw. You're Stephanie McMahon's problem. You're Ronda Rousey's problem. Fuck that. So that gives Becky Lynch the spotlight on SmackDown Live. Becky would have the title stripped of her. She would have the title stripped. She would no longer be the women's champion. That would open up Becky Lynch to getting better, 100%, winning the Royal Rumble, and you do what you need to do with Becky and Nia Jax in the Royal Rumble. Okay? We all know that. But the title could have been a way to enhance Asuka and rebuild Asuka in the time being. Because Ronda is going to be in the main event of WrestleMania. WWE wants Charlotte in the main event of WrestleMania. And we all want Becky in the main event of WrestleMania. So as it sits right now, Charlotte can't be in the main event of WrestleMania with Ronda Rousey unless she is going to win the Royal Rumble. And she isn't going to get her hands on Ronda Rousey until WrestleMania. So something's going to happen between now and WrestleMania where Charlotte and Ronda cross paths again. I don't know what that's going to be. The Royal Rumble's coming up in January, and Becky needs to win the Royal Rumble. That's what I'm saying. And we're probably going to end up getting a triple threat match because that pleases everybody. But Becky doesn't need the SmackDown Live Women's Championship anymore. She is above the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. She needs to be groomed now to win the Royal Rumble. That's what we need to do. The title should be now used where Becky is taking it to elevate somebody else. Asuka could be that woman. She needs all the help that she can get. And what a perfect opponent for Asuka to have a battle over the Women's Championship. Nikki Cross. They know each other very well. She made her debut on SmackDown Live a couple of weeks ago. Why not? Why not? I think Nikki Cross would fit into plans quite seamlessly if you put her on SmackDown Live and have her feud with Asuka over the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. That's just my honest opinion. So if WWE really wanted to have fun with this, they could have fired Charlotte, have her shipped off to Monday Night Raw, and have her be Ronda's problem. And then the title on SmackDown Live could have been stripped off Becky and could have elevated somebody else while Becky goes off to win the Royal Rumble. But Nikki Cross is beating Candice LeRae on NXT TV. What is there for Nikki Cross to do in NXT? Does that now finish the storyline with Candice and Aleister Black and Johnny Gargano? Are we moving on from that? I certainly hope so. The next thing I want to see is Black and Ciampa with Gargano siding with Ciampa once again and temporarily getting DIY back together. That's when Black will get called up. And then Ciampa can concentrate on Gargano and vice versa. And then we get the title switch at WrestleMania. That's what I'm thinking. Let me know what you guys think, man. I've been here for a little bit now. 48 minutes. Pretty damn long NXT podcast, huh? But that's all we got, man. It was a highlight show for TakeOver. So you guys know what the deal is with these takeovers following, or these NXT shows following a takeover. So it is what it is, man. But I did have some news, and I hope that we can continue doing this type of format following TakeOver with these shows. As long as I got news, I'll bring it to you. So those are 4 less stories that I don't have to cover on Off the Script this weekend. So there you go. I'll make mention of it on Friday again. But thank you guys so much for joining me here on the podcast, man. If you guys did enjoy, please hit that thumbs up. Please follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell. In fact, give that bell the middle fucking finger because it never works, man. So make it work. Give it the middle finger and subscribe. 102,000 subscribers right here on YouTube. If you guys want to support the podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/JD from NY206. And remember, guys, barbershopwindow.com/offthescript. Code Black Friday. You're going to get 35% off. Do it. You got till Monday. I know you guys want a shirt. Show your support and represent the best fucking podcast when it comes to wrestling right here on YouTube, man. And that is Off the Script. I'm getting out of here, guys. Thank you so very much. And I'll see you tomorrow with WWE 2K19. I will be doing a premiere on Thanksgiving, and then we'll be right back here on Friday. I got some post-Survivor Series coverage And I got everything coming out of Monday Night Raw with Braun Strowman being legitimately injured and where WWE goes with him into TLC. And AJ Styles negotiating a new contract with WWE. What does that mean for him? And what are we hearing about? All Elite Wrestling? Is WWE in trouble on Tuesday nights? I'll tell you guys about it on Friday when it comes to Off the Script, episode 249. I'm JD. Thank you guys so very much, and I'll see you then for Off the Script.